Hey, do you guys remember the launch of the Dreamcast? Oh man, what a time to be a gamer. Sega turned the world on its head with a console that was leaps and bounds ahead of the competition. And the games, oh god, the games. I can't think of another time in gaming history when we had such a vast array of unique titles. Unlike our current money-making game releases, there was no set genre that dominated the Dreamcast lineup. We had an arcadey beat-em-up like Zombie Revenge share an equal footing with Sega's Bass Fishing. This era was a unique entry in the annals of gaming history to say the least, and during this heyday of new ideas, Sega decided to take a real chance with their own seminal role-playing series, Phantasy Star. Sure, they could have released another classically trained turn-based RPG, but Sega decided to take advantage of both the unique nature of the Dreamcast library and the little white console's dial-up internet capabilities. Phantasy Star Online released to a wave of fanfare and made believers out of those of us who scoffed at the idea of such radical changes being made to our beloved role-playing franchise. Going on to garner near-perfect scores from the most popular gaming publications, the very first console-based MMORPG was a huge success, and everything seemed to be going great. But suddenly, the series went quiet, and all we had to remember it by was a succession of multi-console re-releases and side stories that didn't quite live up to the main title's innovation. But after 13 years of keeping fans waiting, Sega was finally ready to give us the sequel we had been dreaming of. Well, sort of. Hey guys, I'm Jared, and welcome to Trash Classics. Phantasy Star Online 2 was released July of 2012 in Japan, and in the 3 years since has never seen an official Western release. Luckily, when Sega showed no interest in localizing it for English speakers, the internet stepped in and made my life much easier. But we'll talk about the fan translation later. For now, let's talk in a composed and professional manner about the merits of this game in an objective form. Okay. Oh my god, are you guys seeing this? It's like Phantasy Star Online, but it's new, and there's a million additions, more weapons, the interface is awesome. Oh Jesus, look at that, even the mags are back. You can have your own mag again. Oh man. Alright, with that out of the way, let's start from the beginning. In PSO2, you play as a fresh-faced ARC's recruit, which is a fleet of ships that span the universe trying
to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Starting a new game will bring you to a satisfyingly robust character creation screen that fans of modern MMOs will likely be familiar with. Once your newly minted avatar is finished, you undertake your first mission as an ARC's recruit on the planet of Nabarius. There you'll encounter what the game calls Darkers, which are mutations of the planet's natural inhabitants by the return of Darkfalls, the main antagonist in the first Phantasy Star Online. This kicks off the game's story, but you're going to have to put in some serious hours to see any kind of fruition from it, and as fans of the Dreamcast original will tell you, this is par for the course. The game's mission structure plays out like a cross between Monster Hunter and your more traditional MMO, where main missions are given out after certain guidelines are met, and side objectives can be requested of you from the game's many NPCs. While completing missions, or just walking around the ship, the game may randomly generate special events, like a darker attack on some colonized planet. These events allow the entire server to participate and end up being huge caches of loot and experience. While out on the field, you'll notice that PSO2 is not a turn-based RPG. Just like the rest of the online games, you'll be hacking and slashing in real time. And this iteration pays homage to its prequel by keeping the same timing-based combat that fans have grown to love. In this system, button mashers will be able to keep combos going, but the more skilled player will time their next attack just as the last is finishing to hit for extra damage and extend combos with badass special attacks. And this is helped along by visual and audio cues that lets you really fall into a rhythm while fighting. What has been changed from the combat system found on the Dreamcast is the addition of weapon palettes and dashes. The weapon palette lets you switch between 3 different weapons at the press of a button. These weapons can be further customized by equipping photon arts to them, which pretty much equates to special skills like massive damage-dealing combos or area of effect spells. The dash is insanely useful, and when used at just the right time can interrupt some attack animations to get you out of the way of an enemy counterattack. This level of customization lets you change up your battle tactics at a moment's notice, and it also has the benefit of keeping long grind sessions feeling pretty fresh. Overall, I'd say controlling your character feels pretty smooth and responsive. Of course, this may vary between the 4 playable races. Another major point in the game's favor is it fully supporting the Xbox 360 gamepad. This made gaming on my home theater PC a breeze, and it allowed me and my wife to party up and tackle some of the game's harder missions. Which brings me to the MM in this MMORPG. Being an Asia-only release, you won't find a whole lot of English-speaking players, but you can set up your missions to allow others to join in without any interaction at all. Running around with a group and taking out hordes of monsters with laser swords and neon explosions is deeply satisfying, and I can say the combat in big groups is where the game really shines. Well, that, and just about every other aspect you can think of. Seriously, I can't for the life of me find any flaws in this gem. The graphics are bright and colorful with a design that's both familiar and pleasing. There's a massive amount of content to experience. The game is free to play, so don't worry about subscription fees. The music is absolutely beautiful and matches the futuristic tones that graced its Dreamcast predecessor. And most importantly, it's fun. After sinking 100 or so hours into the game close to launch, and starting a new character recently to get this footage for the review, I found myself playing for hours on end and wondering where all the time went. Phantasy Star Online 2 is one of the only MMOs to have this kind of effect on me, and I'm willing to bet that it has a lot to do with how closely it followed the design docs of the first game. Any fan of the series will undoubtedly feel the vast similarities as early as 2 hours in, but those of you new to Phantasy Star Online need not worry. The game does a great job of integrating a very standard MMO system, so anyone who's ever had any passing fancy for games like WoW or Final Fantasy Online will feel right at home on the Ark ship. While listening to me fillet this game must be amazingly fun, I assume you're expecting at least a small portion of objectivity. So let's talk about the two big elephants in the room. First up is the price of entry. Those of you familiar with free-to-play MMOs are probably scared that this means a type of pay-to-win system is in place, and let me put your fears to rest. While there are cash purchases to be made, the entire game can be enjoyed without spending 1 cent. And finally, we have to talk about any US gamer's arch nemesis, a Japan-only release. Even though Phantasy Star Online has a huge following here in the States, Sega has declared that the English localization of PSO2 has been delayed indefinitely. So if you want a piece of this MMORPG action, you're going to need to apply the fan translation patch. Now the good news is this process could not be easier. As someone who was around for the first small translations, I can tell you it was a pain having to manually overwrite specific game files every time there was an update. Luckily, those are problems of the past. The good people at ArcSlayer.com have made the entire process of downloading the original game, patching it for English, and modifying the game's contents dead simple. And is laid out in a simple app called the PSO2 Tweaker. I'll put a link to them in the description, as this is the best place to find tutorials on getting started and the only place I would recommend getting the English patch from. Even after patching the game for English, I do have to warn you that it's not a full translation. You are still going to see a lot of kanji, but I assure you that the graphical icons used in the game and a little bit of RPG common sense will see you through with no problems. So after what's become a pretty long and nostalgia-filled episode of Trash Classics, the question remains, do I recommend this game? And the answer should be obvious by now. Yes, 1,000 times yes. It doesn't matter if you're new to both the series and MMORPGs in general. Phantasy Star Online 2 will deliver a massively enjoyable experience. No matter how hard I try, I can't think of another game to keep such an unshaken posture with one foot planted solidly in the past and another in current gaming trends. Now I know I've gone on and on about this little gem, but trust me, I haven't even scratched the surface of all the amazing things to be found in this huge game. To any of you who might have found any of this appealing, I strongly urge you to give this game a try. With a price tag of absolutely free, I can guarantee this will be unlike anything you've ever played before. And if you're ever playing in the number 4 server Answer, come and hang out with me. And that being said, it's been a while since I last logged in and I really need to get back to the game. So you guys know the drill, blah blah blah, something funny, trashed classic. Thanks for checking out another episode of Trash Classics, guys. If there's any fan translations out there that have flown under my radar, feel free to let me know in the comments section. And if you like Japanese fan translations, why not check out my reviews of Emerald Dragon on the Super Famicom and Final Fantasy Type 0 on the PSP. If you're the gambling type, why not subscribe to my channel and roll the dice on whether or not I'll cover another Japan-only title. I'm not a mathematician, but I'd say the odds are in your favor.